often hear stories of great warriors that have been to battle.
They were trying to prevent the town from expanding a 9-hole golf course on what they claim is ancestral land. Mohawks erected that barricade last March.
I'll teach my children and my grandchildren to fight.
I want them to see the struggle we're going through.
What happens if you touch it?
And an effigy of a Mohawk warrior is burned.
Was shot in Marshall Hospital. Was declared dead on arrival.
And then I walked, and then the cemetery's right there. Our people aren't resting. I think they called us here too.
The barricade is completely surrounded by the Canadian Army.
But you remember, I never raised you to be anybody's victim.
I always saw myself as a warrior.
That was Winnie Corn-Miller. Canada wins the first gold medal in Pan Am water polo.
Somebody had asked me, how far are you willing to go?
Girls, this is it.
The occupation of an ancient pine forest in the Mohawk Reserve of Galazadage is in its 4th month. The people here are protecting land and the burial ground, which they consider sacred, from being leveled for a golf course expansion by the neighboring town of Oka.
All because of greed.
La réaction des Mohawks de Kanawagé au sud de Montréal a été immédiate. Le pont Mercier a été bloqué, la circulation depuis gravement perturbée.
The warriors of Kanawagé block all highways leading into their reserve.
Commuters facing hours of extra driving every day to get into Montreal just couldn't see the logic in it all.
A very tense atmosphere prevails. More than 1,000 police officers arrive in Oka, a village of 1,800 people.
Just for a golf course?
Are you ready now to abandon the project?
No. That's it.
Saw a lot of policemen. This is cool. Let me stop. My favorite. Can I have them, please?
Okay.
You're gonna have to leave.
We are leaving. Right after we pay for our groceries.
Your kind are not welcome here.
Excuse me? What the fuck did you just say?
We Rescue Riot Squad raided the occupied forest in Kennesaw just moments ago to remove protesters.
Come on. We just want to go home. Get out of our way. Let us pass. Fuck this shit.
But it quickly devolved into complete bedlam. A police officer was shot in Marshall Hospital. He was declared dead on arrival. This is the only casualty that's been reported so far. I can't tell you that the gunfight is stopped. The riot squad is falling back.
Les populations de Châteauguay et des villes autour de la réserve de Kanawagé sont à bout de patience. 400 personnes ont manifesté pour empêcher les Amérindiens de sortir de la réserve, comme la Sûreté du Québec l'avait autorisé ce matin.
Les manifestants ont projeté des tomates à une ambulance qui transportait un Mohawk. Puis ont lancé des roches aux policiers qui accompagnaient un Amérindien à l'épicerie. Les manifestants ont transporté une chasse aux Amérindiens. Certains veulent s'assurer que les Mohawks ne retournent pas sur la réserve avec de la nourriture.
Some threatened to damage shops if they were not closed. Several store owners complied.
I remember watching them storm our elders' cars as they were leaving Kanawagé, trying to take our elders into the city.
Take them out. You don't care if they die? I don't give a shit if they die.
effigy of a Mohawk warrior is burned.
You made me lose my job, you fucking savages!
We're not savages. It's the people that throw stones at my mother. They're the savages.
If this is civilized, I'd rather stay on this side of the barricade.
The life on the other side was so normal, and I kept on saying to myself, do they know what we're going through across? You know, it's like two different worlds.
As it progressed, something really bad happened. We just felt it. It was something that you could taste almost in the air.
Robert Bourassa said this was an exceptional situation, and when Quebec couldn't end the dispute using its own powers, then the only choice left was to call in the Canadian Army.
We have to assume the protection of our people.
Troops whose predecessors fought in some of the great battles of this century, now heading for a showdown at a golf course.
The barricade is completely surrounded by the Canadian Army. It all seemed pretty easy. That is, until they reached the center of the Indian land, things came to a dramatic climax.
We also have a bunker picked out for you.
Tycho and Kathy are engaged to be married.
On the way to the bunker.
I remember lying on the ground and seeing cameras and seeing light and seeing the soldier, all shots like that.
14-year-old girl was bayoneted in the chest. She was protecting a 4-year-old sister.
And my little sister, I was holding her hand, and she was 4. She was 4, and I was trying to keep her calm.
And for 6 days, my mother let me sit in my room.
And on the 6th day, she came in, she sat down on my bed, and she asked me, so what do you want to do?
And I said, I don't know. I want to stay here. I'm safe here. I just want to quit everything.
She said, well, no one would ever blame you, for staying here. But she actually reminded me of this dream I had since I was a kid, to be an Olympic athlete.
Miller was just 14 at the time. Sports was her salvation.
Sport literally saved my life.
She considered quitting after the stabbing.
Coming close to death like that, you kind of go, okay.
But instead became even more focused.
There it is.
In 1999, she represented Canada at the Pan Am Games.
Canada wins the first gold medal in Pan Am water polo.
She said, you know what? When you walked out for your first game, it finally dawned on me that you were at the Olympics, that you were achieving your dream. When I still see that time cover, it makes me cringe a little bit.
And in 2000, competed at the Sydney Olympics.
And my mom, she gave me this incredible opportunity to be Olympian.
And my Uncle Frank likes to tell this story. He says, we're in this big room, and here's your mom on one side, Minister and all of his cronies on the other side, and she's saying, you gotta move this dump, it's horrible. And he says, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. Blah, blah, blah. We have to maybe do a royal commission. We'll get back to you in a couple of years.
And well, my mom was very stubborn.
And he says, I looked at your mom. She was getting madder and madder and madder. And suddenly, she got calm. She said, well, we have to live with the rats. You have to live with the rats.
And he said, that's when I knew I should probably tuck my pants into my socks.
Out came this box. They opened it up, and rats came out right there. Rats and mice.
And he said those pants were like super highways for those rats.
And you had these civil services, I've never seen them move so fast. They were jumping on tables, screaming for about 15 minutes. It was absolute chaos.
So fast forward 30 years. I'm post-Olympic Games. I'm in Ottawa at this big conference of how we're going to win more Olympic medals.
And the MC suddenly says,
we have a very special guest that wants to meet you.
And I go, oh, I wonder who it is.
Doors open and in walks the Prime Minister of Canada.
He starts shaking the hand. He has this little aide that's whispering in his ear saying, oh, this is so-and-so. They want a medal at this Olympics. This is who they are. And shaking their hands. And when he gets to me and before his aide can say anything, he looks back and he goes, how is your mother?
I'm like, she's good.
He goes, oh, she was a fighter, that Continetta. He says, oh, she kicked my ass, you know.
And I'm like, she would still like to. Yeah. And he goes, oh, you tell your mother. I said, hello. I said, I will.
So I went home that night. And I said, guess what, Mom? Jean Chrétien says hi. And she goes, he remembers me? And I'm like, Mom, you let rats go in his office? Don't really forget people like that, right? So that was the kind of woman my mom was. She If you couldn't get it one way, you found another way. And she never lost her sense of humor, right?
She was trying to see the Queen of England to inform the Queen that she was claiming England in the name of the Mohawk Nation. And then he goes, what are you talking about? I said, well, you came and did it to us and we were all there. So I'm going to do it back to you.
And she looked at me and she said, well, you have this dream, and if you give up now, you're handing that dream over to that soldier. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be his victim.
And she got up and she started walking out. She had her hand on the door. And she turned around and she walked up and she said,
but you remember, I never raised you to be anybody's victim.
You'll often hear stories of great warriors that have been to battle and these great battles. And you don't know if they won or lost, but it's how they fought that people really focus on.
You've most certainly seen their flag. It's a red flag with sort of yellow sunbeams coming out from the center. And
I always saw myself as a warrior.
I saw your acceptance speech, and it was the greatest acceptance speech I've ever seen.
And please welcome Monique Hornmiller.
At the best of times, I was different. At the worst of times, I was a problem. But I promise you, I was never boring. And every time I felt like quitting, I thought of all of my ancestors that came before me. And I knew I couldn't give up. And I knew I couldn't give in. I went up to her, hugging her, and I said, Mom, what happened? Are you okay? And she wasn't crying anymore. She was super happy. And she said, oh, Monique, I remember when you first said you wanted to go to the Olympics when you were 8 years old. And I got down on my knee and I looked you in the eye. I said, you can do it and I'll help you. And she said, over the last 16 years, there were so many times when I didn't think I was going to be able to keep that promise.
She was always strong in terms of knowing who you were, knowing the very essence of that identity.
But when you walked out for your first game at the Olympics, I was proud of myself as a mother. And you know, I made my mother cry so often because she's been so mad at me. But if you can make your mother cry once because she's proud of herself as a mother, it's the best feeling in the world. I want to thank you very much tonight for this honor, and thank you, Mom, for everything.
Somebody had asked me, how far are you willing to go? I said 6 feet under.